Welcome to the latest edition of Kernels from the Cornfield. No husk, no hulls, no shucks. News with a dash of commentary to spice up your fare for Tuesday, January 6, 2015. Fate of citizen journalism. Many members of CNN's iReport community are wondering if the news network has decided to pull the plug on its experiment with user submissions for inclusion and use on air. Check out my take on CNN's new website design rolled out over the weekend that has members wondering about the fate of iReport. CNN signals curtain call on citizen journalism. Divided government draws lines. As I noted on Monday, House Speaker John Boehner would stay put, even though 25 Tea Party conservatives thought they could upset the status quo. Already the lines are being drawn in what appears a rebuff of voters' wishes that Congress and the White House find a way to work together. The Senate saw a bill filed today to authorize construction of the Keystone Pipeline. Immediately, the White House vowed to veto the legislation. Plans are on tap in the House of Representatives to push through a bipartisan bill aimed at the Affordable Care Act's business mandate to raise the full-time hours from 30 to 40 before employers must provide insurance. So far, no word if the president will pull out his veto pen. We may not know much for sure yet, but what we do know is that this is going to be a very, very long 2 years. Brother, can you spare a Humvee? The U.S. is poised to sell the government of Iraq over $3 billion in vehicles and armament. This is the same government whose military forces laid down their arms, shed their uniforms, and ran away from the Islamic State forces, leaving behind sophisticated U.S.-made equipment, now being used against our military advisors and fighter jets and bombers. Sure, the Iraqi military needs the weapons, but can anyone be sure they won't cut tail and run again? Not the polar plunge. The Dow continued to slide today, closing over 130 points. Worries over the cost of oil per barrel, under $50, the economies of Europe, and a slowdown elsewhere in the world have investors jittery. Question is whether the Federal Reserve will allow the market to take care of itself or will step in with artificial means to prop up the market. Low gas price, higher gas tax. American drivers have been dancing in the street as the cost of a gallon of gasoline continues to drop. There are sinister forces out there who seem to not be too happy. Those forces are talking raising the tax on a gallon. In the hallways of state houses and even under the dome at Capitol Hill, there are whispers about now being the time to up the gasoline tax rate. Maybe it's time to launch a counterassault to let state lawmakers and members of Congress know that most of us are not ready to pay more in taxes, especially gasoline taxes. Cheap political capital. Sheriff David Clark of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, who happens to be black, is none too pleased or happy with President Barack Obama, outgoing Attorney General Eric Holder, and New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio. Excuse me. He's mentioned no words in laying blame directly on the politicians for fanning the fires of anti-police sentiment, which has been growing in urban areas across the nation. That's what he said in an interview with CNN this afternoon. Clark said that the three went for cheap political gain rather than trying to be conciliators and heal the rift between citizens and the police. He said that recent remarks are coming too little and too late. The politicians need to be ready to burn up much of that political capital now to make matters better. 2016 watch. In my take on the 2014 midterm election back in November, I noted that the 2016 presidential race was underway. I also stated that I thought Kentucky Senator Rand Paul would be among the first to announce. He may still. It's the former Florida governor, who is brother and son of presidents, getting all the buzz. Jeb Bush resigned from all his corporate chairs and positions. Today, he announced a new leadership pact, ready to rise. Bush is making all the moves and steps toward a formal declaration. Polling has him way out in front of the pack at the moment. Everyone knows Paul will run. The question is, when will he announce? Former Arkansas governor and Fox News host Mike Huckabee is saying all the right words and making moves to set up a run for the White House as well. Even with his Fox fans, can Huckabee shake off his disappointing run in 2008? Others are standing in the wings. Dr. Ben Carson, Governor Chris Christie, Governor Bobby Jindal, Governor Steve Walker, Governor Mike Pence, Governor Rick Perry. Then there's a few more we've seen before. Speaking of Perry, if the fall in oil prices continues, could it unwind this Texas miracle? Would the loss of the miracle mean the loss of the nomination? Deep freeze. It may only last for a week or two, but most of the country is in a deep freeze with more cold on the way. Temperatures will be plummeting tonight across the central part of the nation, eastward into the south. Snow and wintry mix is in store from west of the Mississippi and points to the Atlantic. Bundle up and stay warm. Equality March. The number of states where same-gender couples now have the same rights as opposite-gender couples stands at 36 after Florida began granting licenses for performing ceremonies today. Only in 4 states has the U.S. District Court of Appeals ruled against equalities. Those states are Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee. The other 10 states, including Texas and Louisiana, awaiting the outcome of deliberation by the 11th Circuit Appeals Court, are biding their time, wondering if their bans on equality will be next to fall. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., the justices of the U.S. Supreme Court are expected to deliberate Friday on taking on the issue this season, with the 6th District taking an opposition position than all the other district courts thus far. The stage is set for the Supremes to bring unity across the nation. Laid to rest. Most people either loved him or hated him. But no matter your view on the late 3-term New York Governor Mario Cuomo, everyone respected him. The New York-born and bred liberal bastion was laid to rest today. Though politically not my cup of tea, I remember the strength he showed during his years as governor. I remember his speech at the Democratic National Convention in 1984. I remember how he said what he thought and lived what he said. I'm sure he's at the debate table now beyond the pearly gates. And I'm sure whoever's trying to parry the repartee of one of the most effective political tongues ever is having second thoughts this night. Rest in peace, Governor. Well, that's what caught my attention for Tuesday, January 6, 2015. Tune in tomorrow for another episode of Kernels from the Cornfield. I'm Mark Ivy. Good evening.